right, so I'm gonna try something a little different for this this little series of reviews here because I don't know. I'm kind of curious about trying something with this. I feel like this is gonna be a fun little experiment here. So I've seen 4 different movies this weekend, so it's been kind of a busy freaking weekend for me. And I'm kind of curious to know if I agree with the ratings of these movies, and I'm going to talk about why I do or do not agree with said movies. That's the entire new segment of this, and then I'm gonna be pretty brief, as brief as I possibly can. I guess I'm a yapper, so it's gonna be very freaking impossible. But I'm going to warn y'all that I'm going to have some reviews that are gonna have spoilers in them because I just don't want to not have spoilers this time, really, I guess. But I'm going to check to see if all the ratings on Rotten Tomatoes from the critics specifically, do I agree with them or do I not after seeing these movies? So, you know, it's gonna be a fun little time, and it might be a long video, it might be a short video, I don't know, but we'll find out. There's a lot of videos. If y'all want me to do structure my reviews like this more in the future, let me know, because I feel like this low-key might be a more fun way for me to try to get into these videos. But let's hop right into this, and we're gonna start with the very first movie that I saw this weekend that I was super excited for. Okay, so the first movie that I saw this weekend, if you couldn't get it by what I just showed you, was Him, which a movie I was very excited for because it was produced by Jordan Peele, not directed, not written. For the love of God, I see so many people keep getting the things confused. He produced it, he did not write it, he did not direct it. It is not his movie, but he helped make it become the movie that it is now. He helped put the funds into it or whatever. Anyway, Jordan Peele is a very trustworthy name when you see on them, at least for me, one of my favorite directors, okay? He has my favorite horror movie ever made was made by him, bro. Get Out is peak, brother, okay? And he also produced some things that I really like Candyman, the new Candyman. I thought that was pretty entertaining. And he also produced Monkey Man, which I freaking thought that movie was fire. So this one had like a Jordan Peele-esque weird concept, but like also with like sports. And I was like, how do you make a horror movie out of like a sports situation? That's very intriguing. So I was really hyped to see this. I'm willing to give anything weird a try, okay? But you know what? We're gonna check the Rotten Tomatoes score on the critics and see if I agree with the rating or if I don't. All right, we're going on Rotten Tomatoes. Let's look up Him. Let's go on Him and look up the Rotten Tomatoes score for Him. All right. Wow. So it's got a score of a 28% on Rotten Tomatoes. So, do I agree with this rating or not, and why? I kind of agree with the critics on this one. Not necessarily to this extent. I mean, okay. Personally, I give the movie a 3 out of 10, maybe a 4 out of 10 if I'm being generous, okay? See, this is my thing with Him, okay? This movie had some very good acting in it, and it had a very kind of compelling idea of having the main character entering this realm of becoming the next GOAT in sports. But, like, they kind of wanted to cover the whole, like, it's not all that it's cracked up to be kind of thing, and that how the business world can really start to overtake that, or how taking over the spot of one GOAT to become a GOAT could be a threatening concept, especially when one person is not necessarily prepared to pass off the torch. So it was kind of a cool idea that could work with like horror elements. Like every time something goes on in the head of the main character, it's like you see it in this dark and twisted way, but it doesn't really land most of the time for me. At least like that's how I felt. So it's like a lot of the time they're just not doing things that really feel compelling, and the characters aren't necessarily compelling either. Like they don't really spend a lot of time on developing the characters that they're actually trying to make us concerned about becoming part of the dark side. It's almost like an Illuminati-esque vibe, but you don't really have an attachment to the main character that way. And it's like weird. It's hard to be attached to the main character in a way that's concerning in a movie like this when the main character isn't like compelling by himself. There are some pretty interesting ideas and shots that I think I like. Like there's one, for example, where like Marlon Wayans' character, which he's like really freaking good in this movie. He's like insane half the time, but I'll get into that in a second. He's like insane half the time and he does some crazy things. But in this one scene, he's putting the little footballs into the little thing that shoots the footballs out really fast. And basically the main character, he's got to like throw the football perfectly within 2 seconds, got to get it off. He's like not looking and he has to turn and throw it at the target. And if they don't catch it, or if he doesn't get the pass off on time, it's considered a fail. And somebody standing in front of the little football thing shooting gets hit in the face a bunch of times. And he's like bloody nose, breaks his nose. It was like, yo, his whole nose like freaking gushes blood. And it's actually pretty insane, but it's like intense. It's like, I don't know. It's like he gets your heart pumping like, oh my God, what is going on? But this is one of the only times I feel like where this happens. But there are some scenes like that are pretty cool. But a lot of the time you're going to be sitting there thinking, what is going on and what is the point? right? Like, it's like you're watching it and it's like, I don't know if I'm really, it doesn't really matter. Like I get what you're trying to say, but also there's so much of this other stuff that I just don't understand why we're doing this. It's not building up my anticipation. Now, obviously I'm talking from personal experience, but you know, somebody else could completely disagree with me. But that's how I was feeling. And I'm talking about Marlon Wayans' character. He's like the QB that's the initial GOAT that like takes him in and is gonna train him, brings him to his boot camp, and he's the one showing all this stuff off. And his inconsistency is what makes me confused. Like, he starts off as a super genuine, like, normal dude, and then he just kind of randomly becomes insane and like does that whole football thing where you're hitting them in the face and he's like, come on, man, you gotta want it, and he's like, I was like, oh, we're here now, okay. And then he goes back to being normal again, and then he's like insane again when he like absolutely murders somebody. And it's like weird because like it feels like two different movies are happening at the same time and they never really connect. And it's like trying to get this theme established, but the movie just seems so disjointed and the idea seems so separated that it's really hard to get into the movie at all. Like, it's actually just feels like the ideas are there, but the execution is just done by somebody who is an amateur at doing the execution. Like, if Jordan Peele made this movie, the movie's execution, I feel like, and the message would have hit way harder, but the message in this movie feels like it's hammered over your head super aggressively, so you know what the point of the movie is, but you're also watching the movie like, what's the point? You get what I'm saying? Like, it's not, it doesn't work for me personally. It didn't work, and I was very disappointed with this movie because I had such high hopes for such an interesting concept, but it didn't land. And the ending is it's a mess, because when I say they're trying to get the message over, there's like the message of like, you know, this guy is getting, spoiler alert, I already warned you, he's been getting groomed as a child to like basically take over Marlon Wayans' spot. Like, they already knew he was supposed to do that, and it's like a theme that's like the real world. Like, the people don't actually care about you, they just want to use you for the greater good, especially the high up white people or whatever. And at the very end, this man realizes it, and so he just like literally murders everybody. I'm pretty sure it's supposed to be like a figurative thing where he's like didn't kill them, he just didn't accept the deal to like actually take the QB spot. But he like it's like a whole final bloody gory murder sequence, and it's just like it and then it ends, and it's like, what did I just watch? What did I just sit, like, what are we doing? It feels chaotic. And it's like, I can understand what the plan was, and I respect the idea, but I think the execution of this movie is not necessarily all there. So personally, do I agree with the critics on this one? We'll say yes, okay? I mean, 28% is around what I say is like a 3, okay? You may enjoy this movie. I did not, and I wish I did. All right, so I yapped for a long time about that movie, but now we got to jump into our next movie. I have a lot. Seeing 4 movies is going to make this video kind of long. I'm so sorry. Well, let's hop into the next one. So the next one is... All right, so Demon Slayer. Let's look up Demon Slayer, bro. Let's look up Demon Slayer Infinity Castle. Let's see if we agree on if this movie's critic rating is... Damn! Oh, wow! 98 by audiences and critics. So do I agree with the critics of a 98%? No. Yeah. Technically no, but we'll say yeah. Like, it's kind of hard to say with this one, okay? And the reason is because for me personally, I actually give this movie a 9 out of 10. It's almost perfect to me. Like, it's actually almost perfect. I think that some things feel like drawn out a little bit sometimes, but realistically, this movie was like peak, bro. And this is coming from somebody who read the manga and finished the entire manga years ago, so I was excited for this movie, especially because it is my favorite part of the entirety of the last arc. This movie has my favorite fight and my favorite villain in all of Demon Slayer, okay? So I was beyond hyped for this. Now, I will say that I am not usually a dub watcher, but I accidentally bought the ticket for the dub, and I was like, damn. But dub was still good, so it was fine. But anyway, I really enjoyed this movie. I think the freaking animation of this movie was so incredibly well done. I mean, watching the Infinity Castle morph around and everything, and watching all the different breathing styles and forms, so freaking cool, man. Like, oh my god, the animation was sick. The characters in this movie are so easy to be attached to. I mean, even if you haven't seen anything Demon Slayer related before this, which I don't know why you would have, because this is a direct arc that you would need to understand what's going on, but like, if you hadn't, you could still kind of feel an attachment attachment to the characters because they're just so easy to like. I don't know. That's just how I feel about Demon Slayer, okay? The villains are also all super good. And they handled all the villain fights very well. Like the villains versus the Hashiras or just like the normal Demon Slayer. I honestly forgot what the name of the normal Demon Slayer is. I feel stupid for not remembering. But gotta remember, I read this years ago, okay? I didn't even watch season 2 or Mugen Train because I had already read it, so I didn't care that much. But I did see this one. I did see this one, and this one was so well done. And I just feel like I gotta talk about, I don't want to talk for too long, but one thing I want to address, two things. One thing I want to address is that, one, Akaza, dude, my favorite villain, done so well. His backstory is, people say it drags too much, and I kind of see what they're talking about, but like also no, I think that it was done just maybe a tad over. Like sometimes I feel like it dragged a little bit maybe, but I really like that they addressed why Akaza was how he was, and they had him, spoilers again, they had him revert back to how he was as a human in his mind. He realized what personality he had abandoned, and they do it so well in a way where you have this extreme emotional attachment to a character that was supposed to be the most villainous and murderous thing. Especially, you just watched this man kill one of the most beloved characters in all of Demon Slayer a couple of years ago. I mean, that's the thing that's always good about Demon Slayer, is that they are really good at making you feel things for characters that you probably shouldn't like in the first place, but they let you understand where they came from, what they were, and how they got to this point. And that they just did Akaza so well. Plus, his fighting was so cool to watch. His combat was so freaking sick, man. I can't stress how cool the animation and the fighting was in this movie, bro. I can't stress it enough. And secondly, I have to talk about this one before I move on to the next movie, because this is my favorite fight in all of Demon Slayer, okay? Listen, Zenitsu fighting the upper, bro. I remember reading that in the manga and I was like, dude, I cannot wait till they animate this. Especially, I will never forget when I was reading it and that man was doing he only knew first form, you know what I'm saying? And that boy goes, 7th form. I'm like, 7th form? What? Yo, I tweaked out when I was reading that, and I was like, bro, this fight is gonna be so cool if they animate it right. And oh, did they do it. I felt so happy. I wanted to clap in the theater. You have no idea, bro. This movie, I want to watch it again. Like, I actually want to go and watch this movie again. They did it so well, and it was almost the perfect movie. Like, actually, I'm sorry. All right. I'm just, yeah. So, do I agree with the critics on this movie? I'm honestly just gonna say yes. I feel like I should just say yes because I'm basically 98% of people recommend this movie. I feel like 98 is a good rate. I think that's good. I think that's pretty good. So I'm gonna say yes for Demon Slayer, Kimetsu no Yaiba, Infinity Castle, bro. I'm telling you, bro. If you haven't seen it and you actually like Demon Slayer or you like anime, go fucking watch this, okay? Go watch this. It's 100% worth it. Even if you don't like the sub and I don't even know why I'm saying this. I watched it in dub and I like sub, okay? And I thought the dub was also very good. So even if you've just seen the sub and you haven't seen the dub and you want to watch it again, listen, the dub was also good. And I'm not even a dub watcher, okay? I'm just saying this movie was very good, okay? I'm sorry. All right, the third movie this weekend that I watched was...
You think I'd fake an accent?
The most beautiful places make you feel the most alone.
All right, now this movie I was sort of kind of excited for, but also I wasn't excited for. I mean, it was all right. I was ready to see this movie, kind of, I guess. But listen, Margot Robbie is like, I have her on my wall right here. You can't see it, but she's there as Harley Quinn in Suicide Squad, which that movie sucked. So at least the original one. But like, it doesn't matter. Listen, Margot Robbie, I love Margot Robbie, okay? And I seen that she was gonna be in a movie that was gonna be kind of a romance movie with like an interesting concept of like going through different doors to explore their childhood and stuff like that. And I was like, oh, that's kind of cute. I wonder how this is gonna go. This is probably gonna be a super emotional movie. Now, let's go ahead and look at the reviews to see what people said about this movie or what critics said about this movie. And I'll see if I agree with them or not. So let's go ahead and look up a big, bold, beautiful journey reviews. 37%. Do I agree with the critics on this movie? No. I do not agree with the critics on this movie. And remember, this is just personal preference. Obviously, I am also a filmmaker, so I guess I'm gonna have some film aspects to it, but this is all based off pure enjoyment and whether or not I would like to watch the movie again or not. Now, I don't think 37%. Obviously, I know how critic ratings normally work. It's like 37% of people recommend the movie, not 37% rating, but let's assume that it's 37% rating. I think that personally, this movie is like a solid 6 out of 10 for me, okay? I actually still sort of enjoyed this movie, okay? Kill me, I guess, all right? I thought this movie had some very heartwarming, emotional moments, or well, heartwarming and emotional moments, because sometimes the emotional moments weren't heartwarming, they were heartbreaking, you know what I'm saying? But like also, it had some very not so heartwarming emotional moments. They were pretty cringe actually. And I think this movie is at its best when it isn't doing the one thing that it's supposed to be doing. And that is probably why the critic rating is so low. This movie is at its best, in my opinion, when it's not trying to do its romance plot. So basically, these two people that you're seeing right here on the screen end up at a car rental place, and they get a car that has a little GPS that guides them to each other and to different doors that let them explore each other's lives or whatever in the past, and yada yada yada. Now, the problem, one of the things, before I forget to explain it, I don't really understand this world. They don't really bother to do it. You kind of ignore it after a while, but it's kind of this in the back of your mind. You're thinking about how this works, and they just don't address it. Like, what is all these doors? How does it just exist? Everything seems like a normal world except for this, and they don't ever explain it. It's just they just let it go, and it's very weird. And then the rules of when they go into their past also doesn't always make sense, because sometimes they go into the past and they show up as their younger selves, and they're like, how old are you? Oh, I'm 12 in this time, and they're actually themselves walking through the life, living through things, and they're not able to change the circumstances, and they're just there. But sometimes they also like live through moments that didn't happen yet, that they're just imagining and recreating new stuff. And it's like, dude, are they reliving their memories, or are they like changing the past for entertainment? It's like, it's weird. It doesn't make a lot of sense when they're doing it, because they're not really revisiting their memories so much as they're just reliving things and redoing stuff and like having these weird journeys inside of them. Like, I don't know. The rules for how these doors work isn't clear, like, at all. It's like constantly changing, not to mention this GPS that has like sentience that's telling them where to go all the time, and they never explain it. It's very odd. And but between that and the fact that the romance plot is so like flimsy, it's probably why the rating is so low. But yeah, I got off track, but basically these two are doing all this, and while they're doing it, they're supposed to be like learning about themselves and about their past relationship life and how they can figure out how to be together, but like also they have their own issues, so they're will they, won't they, and but the problem is they don't show them interact in certain ways enough that feels normal, where their relationship development feels like it makes sense. Like, they literally meet at a wedding in the beginning, and she asks him to marry him, and that's like the start of the movie. And then after that, they're like, I don't know, they're like kind of googly eyes for each other. Like the next time they see each other, like right away. It's like, it's weird. It doesn't feel right. Every time the romantic plots come in, it feels weird. Like, you're rolling your eyes every time, because you're like, oh great, they're doing the romance stuff again, but they have no chemistry for romance. And it's weird to say they don't have chemistry, because the two actors have good chemistry with each other, but their characters don't have necessarily a relationship that's believable, because they don't spend enough time together talking like normal humans. I mean, some of the script feels written by AI. Like, they just ask each other things out of the blue that just feels like the AI generated a question for them to put in the script, and they just put it in there. And it's like, the script doesn't always feel natural. And that's kind of the main issue with this movie, is it doesn't feel natural a lot of the time. But like I said, the movie is at its best when it's not dealing with this relationship stuff, which is supposed to be the whole point of the movie. But there are times where there's like one really good, my favorite part of the movie is when they go their separate ways and they go to their old houses, and he talks to he talks from the perspective of his dad talking to himself as a kid, and she goes back and talks to her mom who passed away, but she's 12 now, at like talking to her about how she's like, oh, I don't like the kind of adult that I'm gonna become and all that. And it's like, I think genuinely, it's not crazy, I suppose, but I think the emotional impact of that scene is more than anything in the entire movie. And then it immediately gets ruined by the fact that, like, right after they step out of the door, they have to, like, at the end of the movie, they gotta go back and meet each other, and now they have their romance plot again. And I'm telling you, every time the romance plot comes in, you remember why the movie isn't actually that great. So it's really good at being emotional sometimes, and then sometimes it's just not. And sometimes the movie is very funny, like it made me laugh in the theater. I think it's kind of funny. And sometimes the humor is like out of place, like the theme of the movie doesn't know what path it wants to take in terms of genre, you know what I'm saying? So this movie isn't bad by any means. Actually, I think I still kind of like it. Like, it's not one of those movies where I would go back and rewatch it, but like also I did still kind of like it though, so that's why it's not a 5. If it was a 5, it'd be like mid, but 6 is like, I still sort of liked it. So, do I agree with the critics on this movie? No, I do not. I think a 37 is way too low, okay? Not that I love this movie or anything, but I enjoyed it enough to feel like 37% it doesn't deserve a rotten score, you know what I'm saying? But it's not something I would recommend people to watch either. Like, it was just, I mean, it was all right. It didn't ruin my night like him did, okay? And so the last movie that I watched, I just came back from watching it actually just now, and I'm late to the party for this one, okay? The last one that I watched was... All right, so let's just hop right in. I'm kind of curious to know right now, what is the rating for The Long Walk, bro? I want to know what the reviews on Rotten Tomatoes for The Long Walk is. 89%. Okay. Do I agree with the critics on this rating of The Long Walk? Abso-fucking-lutely. I thought this movie was incredibly good. Like, almost like a near perfect movie, okay? An extremely emotional journey just about people going on a walk. And obviously it's more than that, because they're doing this walk in a dystopian world where you have to do this walk in order to make money. If you're the last survivor, you get the riches and you get one wish and you can actually try to do something with your life or help your families, whatever. But they're really just walking in a straight line. Probably not a straight line necessarily, there's hills and stuff, but they're walking the whole hour and 40 minutes of the runtime. But there's like a lot of like just normal human interactions in this that make you extremely emotionally attached to the characters, especially the main 4 characters that are like the 4 musketeers. That's what they call themselves. And it's like when you're watching it, you're like, bro, I really don't want any of these people to die, but it's the long walk, and we know by the rules of the thing that only one person can survive. And it's like, oh my god. But it's just so entertaining. Like, you're sitting there watching this and they have certain moments that are genuinely funny. It's fun to watch these people have conversations with each other, especially when they talk about their past, and you really start to dive in the emotional mind of these people that are, you know, doing this, and like why they're doing this and what's going on outside of this area at their homes that is really kind of their motivations, or like what they went through in their past, that, you know, what they appreciate in life and things like that. It's like, it makes you really care about the characters, a lot of them too, not even just like the main, but a lot of the characters, but especially these 2 characters that you're looking at right here on the screen. And one of the best things about this movie is it's very like, it really just makes you realize how real the circumstances are. Like, it's pretty gory, and the way the deaths happen in this movie is like, you literally are like, oh my god. Like, the very first one, when that boy gets his face shot off, like, you expect, I don't know, I'm watching it and I'm like, I know it's rated R, right? But for whatever reason, I'm just expecting him to go bam, and like, you know, it just kind of just shows like, I don't know, he just, bullet goes in head and he just falls over. No like crazy blood. No, his face explodes, and I'm just like, oh, this shit is gonna get real fast. And every time somebody dies, it's like, I was like, oh my god, like it's actually like, it's taking in the realism of what it would be like if you've seen someone get shot. Like, and people, they don't react like inhumanly either. They're all like, no matter how many people get shot and die, the characters are always like traumatized. Like, they never truly get used to people just getting shot down, because they know, one, that was just a human being that they were just talking to a little while ago, and 2, it's the fact that they could very well be the next one if they simply stop and go slower than the required speed that they need to walk. So it's just like, it's such a real thing to process, and they all realize the entire time that only one person can make it out, but they have so much commitment to keeping each other alive that somebody might fall back and they'll pick them up and like, come on, let's go, and sometimes somebody will fall down and they'll literally go back and try to save them, but realize they literally can't, and they'll leave. But sometimes they try to save them and they have to be pulled off because they just can't deal with the fact that this person's gonna go down like this. And it's such an emotional journey And I just feel like the execution of this movie, as simple of a concept as it really seems, and how simple of a thing is going on, like they're just walking, it feels like a real emotional journey. And I won't necessarily say what, like, who dies when or whatever, but like the most core deaths that I remember, and if you are watching this and you want, like, you already seen the movie, the core deaths in the Musketeer group are so, God, they just hurt so much. They hurt so much. I watched it with my mom and she was crying, but like it's just, I was like, oh my God, dude, I couldn't, man. It was actually the character development is so good. Like the relationship, the friendship that you feel the whole time, seeing people go, it actually like kills you. Like, it just breaks your heart beyond belief, especially at the ending, which I'm going to spoil. Their main character doesn't end up making it. And I will say that I knew this was going to happen. I knew that the main character was going to sacrifice himself for the side character, and I was 100% sure that was going to happen. It didn't make it hurt any less, bro. It didn't make it hurt any less knowing that. Like, cause I'm like, dude, you literally did this because you wanted to make an impact, because of like the government. You didn't approve of it, and you didn't approve of the fact that they killed your dad. You didn't like that, and you just saw your mom a little while ago, and you were telling her, like, you were supposed to go back to her, and she was so sad at the beginning of the movie. I'm telling you, the intro of the movie really establishes their relationship, the mom and the son, so well before he leaves her. And just thinking about the fact that he died right there, and she's just gonna find out, like, oh, it's so heartbreaking. Not to mention, I'm fairly sure that his homie died. His name's Pete, the black guy that we're seeing right here. I'm pretty sure he dies too, because he ends up killing the guy running everything, and then he walks off into the distance where there's just no people around, and I'm pretty sure that's literally like simply, he's dead. He's walking off into the sunset. He's dead. Okay, they gunned that man down after he shot the main dude. There's no way they'll let that slide, bro. I mean, I could be wrong, okay? I analyze films, but like, it's all up to interpretation. They didn't say it, they didn't show it, but I'm fairly sure that man died there. And at the end of the day, it's just kind of this message: nobody in this universe wins. Nobody. Nobody could actually just get out of this given the circumstances. And this movie was amazing. Okay, this movie was very good. One of my favorite movies that I've seen this year. And I am going to be doing a tier list of all the movies I've seen this year at the end of the year, and I'm excited for that. But this was a great movie. So do I agree with the critics on The Long Walk? Absolutely. I just have sometimes that I had a couple of issues with the movie, I suppose, like in the first leg of certain deaths that occurred and how they happened, but that's really it. That's why it's not a 10. You know what I'm saying? It's like a 9 for me. But I definitely can say that I agree with the critics on this one. And I guess technically the audience, they're pretty similar. That is my opinion on the 4 movies that I've seen and whether or not I agree with the critics or not. If y'all like the format of these videos, I do think I want to keep kind of doing them. So just let me know. Hit that like at the bottom, bro. And if you haven't subbed yet, you know exactly what to do, man. And with all that being said, fellas, I will catch y'all in the next one. Peace out.